Welcome to Popcorn Tales. Story 1. The last auto to Kharghar. The clock on Meera's phone blinked 12:37 a.m. She sighed, shifting her heavy backpack. After a long evening of studying at her friend's place in Vashi, she was finally heading home to Kharghar. The railway station was almost deserted, and the last train had long departed. Just as she was about to book a cab, an auto-rickshaw rolled up beside her. "Madam, Kharghar," the driver asked in a low voice. Meera hesitated. The street was empty, and waiting alone in the dark didn't feel safe. Besides, she had taken autos at night before. "How much?" she asked. "Just 200 rupees, the driver said. "A good deal." She nodded and got in. The auto jerked forward, and the ride began. The city lights faded as they entered the isolated stretch of highway connecting Vashi to Kharghar. Street lights were sparse, and the road was lined with dense trees and patches of darkness. Meera shivered. She hated this part of the journey. The road felt too quiet, too empty. She pulled out her phone and checked the GPS. The route seemed fine. Then she glanced at the rearview mirror, and her blood ran cold. She could see herself in the mirror, but not the driver. Her breath hitched. Maybe it was a trick of the angle? The dim lighting? She shifted in her seat and peeked again. No reflection. Her pulse pounded in her ears. "Bhaiya," she tried to keep her voice steady. "Aapka naam kya hai?" "What's your name?" The driver didn't answer. He just kept driving. Meera gripped her phone tighter. Her eyes darted to the meter. It wasn't running. Her stomach twisted. Something was wrong. She forced a smile. "I think I left my wallet at the station. Can we go back?" Silence. The auto picked up speed. Meera's fingers hovered over her phone screen. Should she call someone? Text her location? The driver suddenly spoke. "Too late to go back, madam." His voice was off, like multiple whispers layered together. Meera's heart slammed against her ribs. She had to do something. Now. She fumbled for her backpack, pretending to adjust it. Then, in one swift motion, she yanked open the auto door and jumped out. Pain shot through her knee as she hit the ground, rolling onto the side of the road. She gasped, scraping her palms on the rough gravel. The auto screeched to a halt a few meters ahead. Meera scrambled to her feet, ignoring the pain. She turned back. The driver was stepping out. But something was wrong with his body. He was too tall, his limbs stretching unnaturally as he unfolded from the auto. His head twisted at an impossible angle, his neck cracking loudly. His face was hidden under the shadow of his hood. But his eyes glowed, a dull, unnatural yellow. Meera didn't wait. She ran. The highway was empty, but in the distance, she saw headlights. A car. She waved frantically, screaming for help. The car slowed, and a man rolled down the window. "Are you okay?" Meera spun around. The auto was gone. There were no tire marks, no sound, nothing. Just the cold night air and the faint echo of a whisper in the wind. She collapsed into the car's back seat, trembling. The driver, an elderly man, frowned. "You shouldn't be on this road at night, Beta. Strange things happen here." Meera swallowed hard. That auto, the driver, he wasn't human. The old man sighed, starting the car. "You're lucky you jumped out." Meera turned to him, confused. "You believe me?" The man nodded. "You're not the first. Every few months, someone sees that auto. No one knows what it is. But those who stay inside until the ride ends never come back." Meera gripped the seat. As they drove toward Kharghar, she didn't dare look back. But somewhere in the distance, over the quiet hum of the engine, she swore she could still hear the faint buzzing of an auto-rickshaw. Coming closer. And closer. Story 2. The Vashi Creek shadow. The waters of Vashi Creek stretched endlessly under the pale moonlight, dark and still. The only sounds were the gentle sloshing of waves against the fishing boats and the occasional rustling of the mangroves. Rahul sat at the edge of his small wooden boat, absently mending his net. The other fisherman had long since docked for the night, but he lingered, lost in thought. His younger brother, Arjun, had vanished here 3 months ago. One moment, they were fishing together, laughing, teasing each other like always. The next, Arjun had stood up suddenly, as if hearing something. Before Rahul could react, his brother had walked to the boat's edge and stepped into the water, without a word. Rahul had screamed, "Dove in!" after him, but Arjun was gone. Just gone. The police found nothing. The body never surfaced. The case was closed. But Rahul knew the truth. Something had taken his brother. And tonight, he was going to find out what. A cold breeze rippled across the creek. Rahul shivered and pulled his jacket tighter. He checked his phone, 1:12 a.m. The other fisherman had warned him. Leave before midnight. Don't wait. Don't listen. But Rahul stayed. He had to know. Then, over the quiet lapping of water, he heard it. A voice. Faint. Distant. Bhaiya, brother. Rahul's breath caught in his throat. His hands clenched around the net. The voice was Arjun's. A cold chill ran down his spine. He turned his head slowly toward the water. A shadowy figure was rising from the depths. It had no clear form, just darkness, shifting and twisting like smoke over the water. But in the middle of the swirling shadow, Rahul saw a face. Arjun's face. Pale. Dripping wet. His unblinking eyes locked onto Rahul's. Rahul's throat went dry. Arjun. The shadow moved closer, gliding over the surface of the water. Bhaiya, the voice was soft, wrong, as if layered with echoes. Come with me. Rahul's hands trembled. His heart pounded so hard he thought it might burst. This wasn't his brother. It couldn't be. Arjun had drowned. And yet, the shadow's form twisted, growing taller, darker. More voices joined in, whispering, calling. Some he recognized, men from the village, other missing fishermen. All of them taken by the creek. The shadow lurched forward suddenly, stretching toward the boat. Rahul stumbled back, nearly falling into the water. He grabbed an oar and swung it. Wildly, the wooden blade passed right through the shadow. Cold fingers, not real, but something worse, brushed against his arm. The touch burned like ice. Rahul screamed and yanked his arm away. His breath came in ragged gasps. The shadow figure tilted its head. And then it smiled. The whispers grew louder, filling his head, drowning out his own thoughts. Come with us, Bhaiya. You belong here now. Rahul did the only thing he could. He grabbed the trident at the front of his boat, his father's old fishing spear, and plunged it into the water. The shadow let out an inhuman wail. The water churned violently as the figure twisted and writhed, pulling away from the weapon. The whispers turned into screeches, and then, silence. The water was still again. Rahul collapsed, gasping. His arm throbbed where the shadow had touched him. His skin burned black, like frostbite. He didn't wait. He grabbed the oars and rowed as fast as he could, his boat cutting through the dark water like a knife. When he reached the dock, the other fishermen ran to him, their faces pale. You saw it, didn't you? One of them whispered. Rahul nodded, unable to speak. The old boatman, Kaka, stepped forward. His voice was grave. They call it the creek shadow, a spirit that lures people into the water. It takes their form, steals their voice. Rahul swallowed hard. But why did it sound like Arjun? Kaka's eyes were dark with sorrow. Because it has him now. Rahul stared at the creek, the still black waters hiding something ancient. Something hungry. And somewhere, beneath those depths, Arjun's voice still called for him.